Facebook.
Yeah, we are recording. Hey guys, how's it going? Donovan with the Marching the More team. Just letting people
Right.
fill in. I can see us. We are live on Facebook. If anybody is on our Facebook page, it is www.facebook.com backslash
Marching
marching two more. And that's the number two more, just like on our shirts. All right. So today, guys, what we'll be talking about, um, we've got a very informative webinar. If you've ever watched any of our videos or anything like that, those are usually very quick. This is an in-depth webinar for people who are concerned about foreclosure. If you own a property or you have a desire to own a property in the future, this is going to be for you, because one of the most intimidating things about owning a house is, what if I miss a payment? What happens? And how do I mitigate any type of risk, right? Foreclosure is probably the worst thing that can happen to a homeowner, next to like a fire or a giant flood, in my opinion. What do you think, Raj?
Well, the good news is we're going to provide some information that will show the benefits of how home ownership can help you stay in the house, right? Usually, if you're renting a house, right, and you miss a payment, guess what? You're out in 30 days. Well, if you own the home and you're going through a foreclosure, there are multiple ways of this foreclosure process could last from 6 to 12 months before you have to leave the house. So ultimately, we're going to provide some information today about how you can prevent the foreclosure from happening, and if it does go through, what you can do at that point in time. So it's not the end of the world. Let me just say that emotionally, it's going to feel like a lot of stuff's going on. You got people get foreclosed for a lot of different reasons: loss of job, death in the family, divorce. Life is happening, everybody. So, but foreclosure is just exactly what it is. It's before they take over, right? So just keep in mind, this information here today is to help you. And you're in a bad position. You're getting phone calls left and right, getting letters left and right saying you owe this money, this and that. Just if you have any questions about this presentation, and leave your email, phone number, but make sure you understand that we're here to help you, one, prevent the foreclosure if you can, and then two, what actually can you do if it does happen. So we're here to help everybody. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And with that, guys, this is confidential. We know foreclosure in particular, not only a very emotional thing, but it's not something we want everybody knowing about. We could have had a giant room full of people and we'll be talking to you guys about foreclosure, but I know that not everybody wants this news to get out that they're going through a troubling time. So if you guys do share any type of information, feel free to do so either at our email address. We have assistant@marchingtomore.com, or if you are watching this via social media, go ahead and send us a direct message, and we'll be sure to help you out. We can also, if you send us a message, we can also send you a copy of our presentation. That way, as you are navigating foreclosure, you'll have this presentation that we have in front of us. We have a magazine version of it. We can send you a PDF, and you'll be able to follow along. And with that,
Well, let's just say the disclaimer real quick while we're going into the presentation. We are real estate professionals. We are not tax accountants. We're not lawyers. We are a guide to get you through this process. So just keep that in mind. All right.
All right, guys. So welcome to Facing Foreclosure, what it means for you and your future. Okay. So we're just going to go through our presentation. Make sure it's going up. All right. So we got a quick welcome and our contact information. I'll stop right here just so you can see our contact information. This is our brokerage, which is at Coastal Realty. That's their info. I'm Donovan McFadden. That's my number right there, 757-206-2859. Roger Lee, if you need to contact him for any reason, his number is
757-434-6433. Roger Lee.
Exactly. We are your agents, guys. And on this call, we also have one of our teammates, Jordan Sheard. She is with our assistant, and she also partners with Recovery Masters. So there will be a time in which we talk about what happens to the proceeds of your house should you actually go through foreclosure auction. And that's where we'll talk a little bit about the recovery process and our alignment with Recovery Masters and how they can help you continue to march to more. Jordan, did you want to say anything to the people?
Just a quick hello. Thanks for having me on the call, guys.
Hey, no problem. It's a pleasure to have you. All right. Quick about us. I am a prior Navy veteran. So serving my country and my community has always been a big goal for me. Now I reside in the Hampton Roads area, but I seek to help my family and community all around the nation with financial literacy and real estate investments.
I am Roger Lee. I am I was born and raised here in the Hampton Roads area. Graduate from Norfolk State. Behold the green and gold.
Green and gold.
Also a master's degree from Old Dominion University. All the Monarchs out there back in the day. I've been selling and buying real estate for myself since 2001, and so I'm here to help in any way possible to take you all to another level. That's what it's all about.
We're not just here to talk to you guys about this, sell you stuff. We actually own real estate. This is a fear of ours too, right? As we leverage our time and money to buy assets, we also don't want to go through this process. So we're learning so we can teach ourselves and teach you as well. A quick results from our last year. So me and Roger have been in the top 25% of all agents in the Hampton Roads area over the last year. Our average home price, $450,000 per home. And then average days on market is around 14 days. And the reason that I tell you guys that is because I want you to know sometimes people don't think that we can help them out or expedite the process. Our track record shows that we are able to do this very fast. And I want to say the biggest issue that I've experienced with families that I've helped through the foreclosure and pre-foreclosure process is they usually wait until the last moment. We've had conversations with people and they'll be 120 days out. They just received the letter that they've been late and that their house will be pending foreclosure. And we'll talk to them and they'll say, I got it. Don't bother me, Donovan. I'll figure this out. And I know there's a lot of pride and a lot of emotion there, and I feel you guys. Those same families usually come back to me, or I reach back out. Hey guys, how's everything going? You know, you're a friend, you're part of our community. I just want to make sure you're situated and doing well. And I'll say, Donovan, I wasn't able to figure it out. What you got for me? Right. And that's what we'll be talking about today. Exactly what we got for them or what we did for them and what we have for you guys if you're out there concerned about any of this.
That's right. And it's like, just so y'all know, it's supposed to be scary. That's all right. All right. We're gonna have our head's gonna be level to make sure we expedite these things properly and to provide the true information directly to you. Some information is not gonna sound great. Some information will. Just be able to receive the information is the first step. Those who have jumped on the Facebook ad, Christina, appreciate you coming on. I hope you get some great information out of this presentation today. If you have any questions, Christina, through Facebook, just go ahead and send me a message directly. I just sent you a message right back.
And we know that everybody out there is probably just gaining information for the future. Not everybody who's watching this is going to be going directly through pre-foreclosure. That's totally fine. If you leave your phone number, email address, we also have seller guides just for somebody who's trying to find out how we can sell their house and what the process is like for that. Feel free to leave us your information and we'll send you that directly to your email or directly to your door.
All right.
What is foreclosure? So foreclosure, for anybody who doesn't know, but I'm sure most of us who are here, we understand exactly what foreclosure is. But foreclosure is when you are late on your mortgage payments and someone is attempting to call in that debt and get paid on the loan that you took out. Okay. It's so crazy to me. Sometimes foreclosure can happen just because taxes and somebody's behind on their taxes by two quarters or so, and that may just be a few $1,000s. And to some people that doesn't sound like a lot of money, to other people that sounds like a heck of a lot of money. But we want you to know that we're going to help you guys figure this all out, and that is pretty much what pre-foreclosure or foreclosure is.
Yeah, so just so you know, when you sum it up, if you get a letter in the mail and it's asking for it, that's the beginning of the process. Doesn't mean it's going to end that way. All right. That's the reason we're having this, to make sure we can help you as best we can. But to your point, Donovan, when it's best to give us notification in, multiple months before it actually happens, right? And to reach out to us as fast as possible, because that helps us. The more time we have, the better it is to take care of the problem. If for some reason you want to wait until 2 or 3 weeks before you have an auction date, and you say you've exhausted all the possibilities, well, if you haven't tried us yet, you haven't exhausted all the possibilities. So just keep that in mind before you give up. So, all right.
All right, guys. So we got two types of foreclosure. Okay. We got our non-judicial and judicial foreclosure. Okay. Now, the judicial foreclosure, the lender is filing a civil lawsuit. The process is handled through our local courts. The lender records a lis pendens. Now, for anybody who's out there, whether you're working with the March and More team or any other person, if you receive that letter in the mail, that letter in the mail is going to be very similar to the lis pendens. That means that they've already sent it off to the county clerk. They said, hey, we're going to begin the foreclosure proceedings. And then they've sent you a letter saying, guys, we're going to begin this foreclosure proceeding. That is what lis pendens means. The court grants the judgment permitting the lender to conduct the foreclosure auction. Okay. Now, in the state of Virginia, the foreclosure auction is going to happen on the county steps where the home is actually at. Okay. So some people, you've inherited a home, you live out of state. There will be a foreclosure process happening. When that foreclosure process happens, it will happen on the county steps of wherever that property is actually at. Okay. Then they will announce the date in the mail of where that foreclosure, or not in the mail, but in the newspaper. My apology. They'll announce the date in the newspaper, and that's how all of the sharks know exactly what time and what place they can go and buy your property at. And you can stop the foreclosure by repaying what you owe. Okay, now if you're an absentee owner, maybe you didn't even know about the house and you're behind on some taxes or behind on some mortgage payments, that could be quite a bit of money. If you're not, maybe you're just 1 month behind and you just need to figure out how to secure some funds to get caught up. We can talk about that at a later time.
And I would always recommend, when you start noticing you're going through this process, and open your mail up. And, it's open your mail up. It's one of the biggest concerns I have for those who are going through this process is they've given up. And again, this is an emotional process.
Yeah.
Just simply open up the mail. The information that's in there is to provide you information, and there's actually information to contact some people to help you resolve this concern. Because the truth of the matter is, regardless of what type of foreclosure, the bank doesn't want to foreclose. It costs them too much money. They lose too much money. So why not open up the information and have an open dialogue with your lender? That is probably the first step.
Yeah. And if you guys don't know exactly how to do that, as a fiduciary and your agent, you guys can always talk directly to your lender and say, hey, I need a little bit of guidance on what's going on here. So I would like to have either your agent, right, Roger, or myself, or maybe even a lawyer if you're more comfortable with that. But you can authorize us to speak on your behalf, and we can talk directly to them on different ways that we can stop the foreclosure proceedings or what will happen if this does continue to move forward. Okay.
Yep.
The next type of foreclosure, guys, is going to be our non-judicial foreclosure. Similarly to the judicial foreclosure, you're going to get a letter in the mail. The trustee is going to have the opportunity to initiate the foreclosure proceedings as per the courts. They will record a notice of default with the county clerk. Once they do that, this is almost simultaneously, you'll receive a letter, and then it'll go out to the public as well. Now, in this one, the borrower may stop. The borrower may not stop the foreclosure after the expiration of the time period. So in our judicial foreclosure, you can stop it. In the non-judicial, you cannot stop the foreclosure after the expiration date.
Right.
Following the expiration date of the predetermined amount of time, the trustee records the notice with the county clerk, and this notice establishes the date and time of the place of the foreclosure, and it could take up to 12 months to complete a foreclosure, depending upon the state.
Yeah. So things can change within those 12 months as long as you get it done within that certain amount of time. So if for some reason you lost your job and you were out of work for 3 months and you get a job and you finally get a job after 90 days and you start making payments, you'll be fine as long as within that, before that time period.
All right. So you've missed a foreclosure or you've missed a payment. You've missed your mortgage payments. Now what? Okay. And then you guys can see in the illustration, a whole lot of things are happening in your life. You're stressed out. You stop paying your bills. What's going to happen once this foreclosure starts? People are going to start calling you, right? And not just the mortgage lender, other agents, other people who are trying to buy your house from you, other debt collectors, because if you're not paying your mortgage payment, which is the most important thing that we have, right? The roof over our heads, it's very likely that you're probably having financial issues in other parts of your life. And so other people will begin to call you as well, okay? One of our jobs and duties is to kind of help deflect some of the noise and give you a strategy and a plan. So one of the best things that we do, and I'm a huge fan of that our team conducts, is going to be our strategic consultations. So if you tell me, Donovan, I've got a problem, the first thing I'm going to do is send you my calendar, and I'm going to say, let's schedule a strategic consultation and let's start to strategize about how we're going to solve and overcome these problems.
Right. And so as to overcome them, a couple different options you have. All right. To stop or delay the foreclosure. Like you can reinstate the loan by paying back what the missed payments you had. That's number one. You can negotiate a modification, meaning let's just say a lot of people during COVID, they had a loan modification, meaning they had a 30-year mortgage they had been paying for a couple of years. And what they did was, let's say they lost their job during COVID. They modified their loan to be 31 years. So 1 year, they didn't have to pay their loan, their mortgage for a whole year, but they now have a 31-year mortgage. Does that make sense? And that's a type of loan modification. You have to speak to the mortgage company, talk to them about the options you have. Another way you could do, you could file for bankruptcy. Right, that's another option. Or you can go for a foreclosure mediation, and that is where you negotiate on your behalf a way to make your payments back. Meaning, let's say you say a negotiation says, hey, my mortgage payments are $1,500 a month, but I missed the last 7 months in a row. I'll tell you what we'll do. Now that I got a job, I'll pay you $2,000 a month until I catch up with my back. That's called mediation. All right. Modifications, extending 1 additional year in the loan, and then mediations when you pay a little bit more after a certain amount of time until you catch up to catch up where you're supposed to be. So these are all options available for you. But again, you got to open up your mail. That's the biggest thing.
All right. And so after you have been 3 to 6 months behind on your mortgage payments, guys, you will get that notice of default. Now, some of the reasons why we're going to take our time and talk through this is because when you get that notice of default, I know it feels like the world is probably collapsing around you and it's going to happen quick. Guys, there's going to be time, but it's important that when we have this time, we are efficient and effective. Okay. As soon as you get a notice of default, or you think you just be coming late on the payments and you have a question about, hey, I don't know what to do, ask somebody. Reach out to the March No More team. We are here to help. Okay. When that notice of default shows up, it can hit your credit report. Okay. So some people think that losing the house is the only issue that they will have to overcome should the house be foreclosed upon. there are going to be numerous things that can happen to you if your house is foreclosed upon. One of them being the house is sold, the other being that it will affect your credit score.
Yeah.
Another thing that'll happen is it can limit your ability to get a loan in the future.
Yeah.
Something, Rod.
It'll be it's pretty bad. Out here it says it'll affect your credit report up to 7 years. It'll stay on there. So when life happens, and let's just say you need a new car within the 7 years, but you can't pay it in full, you need a loan. One or two things that can happen. You're not going to get a loan for a new car. Or you're going to have to if you do get a loan, it's going to be a super high interest loan. That's going to put you in further and further debt. So, and your credit score may drop 200 points just on that alone. So there's a couple different ways. We want to prevent this from happening, and it's scary, but that's why you lean on a professional. Now, as far as like, if you're dealing with any legal parts that you want, I would suggest talking to a real estate attorney. But once you get that notice of default, that's when you can start the foreclosure mediation, and you can actually challenge the foreclosure in court with an attorney. So for those who didn't know, you can do those things as long as you get the notice of default first.
Once you guys get that notice of default, you are not foreclosed on, you are in pre-foreclosure. Okay. Now, during this time, while it is okay to take your time and figure this out and strategize with the team that you choose to go with, just know that there will be penalties and fees that are usually happening on a daily basis. So there will be compounding. Okay. So a lot of times people will see, oh man, I owe this much and I got to pay this amount off. As the days and weeks are going on, the fees are racking up exponentially. I've seen that firsthand. We've actually had a client who we were doing some assistance for. They gave us an initial payoff letter. It took us some time to negotiate things. By the time we were able to find a ready, able, and willing buyer for this property, they didn't continue to update us on the fees and how things were changing. They didn't order a payoff letter, another payoff letter as time was going on. And what we had to end up doing is we almost had to short sell the property, which means that we had to sell the property for less than what they owed. In this specific situation, the banker lender can decide to accept the foreclosure and whatever the buyer brings to them, they'll accept that and take that, or they may force you to pay extra money out of pocket in order to proceed with the transaction. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm in the middle of a foreclosure and I already can't pay my mortgage, it's going to be very difficult for me to bring more cash to close if I have in the event of a short sale. Okay, so just keep that in mind, guys.
But you'll be informed well in advance before we get to that point, as long as you give us enough time to work with. Again, try not to wait until the last 3 weeks to get in contact with us. Try to give us 2 or 3 months so that way we can assist you and get the process going.
So real quick recap, because that's where we're at, right? You'll get the notice of sale in the mail, and then you'll be in the pre-foreclosure process. Once that happens, you'll be evicted because they want you out of there so that way they can do what they must with the property. And the eviction, you should usually have a few days to gather your belongings, most likely 30 days. With this, I know that a lot of people who are facing foreclosure, you're dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of emotions. Losing your home is a big issue. Where are you going to live next is probably going to be your next biggest issue, right? I don't want to see a single family member, friend, or person in my community living under a bridge, living under a highway. We not only help people buy, sell, and invest in properties, but the Marching No More team also helps you rent properties too. So if you're facing any type of housing insecurity, reach out to us. We'd love to help.
And in fact, let's talk about if you have to go to a rental because life is happening. Same process is going to go on. They're going to see that you haven't been making payments and whatnot. So it can be a challenge to find a rental. So that's even more important just to reach out to us early enough to make sure we can prevent this from happening. Because let's put it like this. When you're renting, they need to see that you're making payments on your rentals and mortgage. Your credit score's got to be over 600, and you got to make 3 times the rent. So I mean, what's $1,500 a month on a rent? You have to make $4,500 a month. Well, we got to prevent that from happening. So, and we don't want them to deny you access to a place to live, right? So we want to make sure that we prevent this from happening.
Yes. I want to just stop, right? We got a little bit of time. I told you guys we're not going to rush through this. My background, I originally born in Los Angeles, California, seen Skid Row, have family members who went through some hard times. Eventually, my family, we migrated up to Portland, Oregon. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Portland, Oregon. During the pandemic, that's where riots were breaking out at. After the pandemic, we have a huge crime, poverty, and homeless issue that Oregon is currently facing and overcoming. I still have family over there, so I go and visit. So I used to go to James Madison High School over on 82nd. All right. It was an up and coming area. Home prices to this day on that street, which is not the nicest, are still more than what we pay for in the cost of living in the Hampton Roads area. But there is so much homelessness. It saddens me, right? And so that's kind of one of the things that motivates me. I don't want anybody to have to face homelessness, houselessness. If we can figure out a way for you to retain your property or get you in transition into another place to live, that is our true goal. That's when we win.
That's right. We just want to make sure you're and the biggest thing is our first goal when you reach out to us is how can we help you stay in this house? That's number one, because picking up and moving it's a big deal. So we want to make sure that you're able to use all our resources that's available to you. There's state funding, there's federal funding that will assist you in preventing this foreclosure. So just keep that in mind, and that we're here to help. And if we, for some reason, if it's outside of our hands or attorney's hands, we will find you a new place. We just gotta get ahead of it as best we can. So,
and Roger said we're going to use all of our resources, right? So number one, we have us as a restore. We're your real estate professionals, and we've got our entire team behind us, which is the brokerage, which is Jordan with Recovery Masters. But if you have to pick up and move, that's going to be difficult, right? You don't want to go it alone. We have moving companies that we partner with. Those are a resource to you. We've got lawyers that we know who specialize in real estate, who specialize in the foreclosure and pre-foreclosure process. Those are an asset to you and a resource that we have. We've got contractors. Say that you guys are getting prepared to list your home, and we know that we need a little bit of curb appeal, a facelift on it to bring up the curb appeal. Or we've got to fix some major things, because if our finances aren't doing that well, then it's possible that our house isn't doing too great either. We've got resources to help you do that. And some of those resources allow us to pay for them at closing. So don't think just because we're real estate professionals, all we can do is buy, sell, or help you rent. Yeah. We are swimming in a sea of real estate resources. So if you need absolutely anything, we've got somebody who can help.
Especially in this, financial advisors. Again, they have a conversation with you. They learn about all the pieces of your life, and they try to make the puzzle and put it in a nice way, so that way you're doing the right things. They create your borders and then start picking up from there. So putting your piece of the puzzle together through financial advising is always advisable.
Okay. So now, guys, we're going to get into how to avoid the foreclosure. Roger listed some of these off, but we're going to go ahead and talk to each one of them. All right. We can ask for a forbearance. A forbearance allows the mortgage or the borrower to pause your mortgage payments for a limited amount of time. Okay. So that's one of the ways that we can extend the amount of time that you have to go ahead and get caught up. You can apply for a refinance. Now, when you do a refinance, for some of my people who bought their home in 2020 and the market boom, when you refinance, that interest rate is going to be different. But I think that if we can find an appropriate mortgage payment for you to refinance into, regardless of the interest rate, that will probably be better than us having to go and, move out of the biggest asset some of us have ever acquired. We can get you approved for a repayment plan. Right. And so that's going to be similar to our loan modification. We can ask for a mortgage reinstatement. So similar to our repayment plan, If you're facing a financial hardship, this means that your mortgage will normally go forward, and you can also ask for the reinstatement. Okay. We can sign a deed in lieu of foreclosure. Now, this is very important. Now, I know some people are going through this emotional process. They don't know what to do, right? Maybe you're absentee owner. This isn't your only property. You're an investor. You have multiple properties. Signing a deed in lieu of foreclosure, this stops it from hitting your credit score. It simply says that, hey, I'm going to surrender the property to you guys. You go ahead and you cancel out all my debt, and you have the property and you do what you must with it. Okay, now that's obviously not ideal, but that is an option.
Yeah.
Right? Pick them up on a short sale.
Yeah, well, I was going to say before we go there, I was going to go to I get investors that come in and they talk about a product subject to, and the word is actual the word subject, the letter TO, and what that means is they are promising, these investors are promising, saying, hey, I'm gonna save you, I'm gonna pay off what you haven't paid in the last 7 to 8 months. I'm gonna get this foreclosure off you, and I promise to make the payments moving forward in full every time. That's called a subject to offer. If you're in that position, that will prevent the foreclosure, because now they're starting to get payments and everything. You may have to leave the property. They now own the property as well. So any equity, you are surrendering all the equity that you did acquire or the time that you've lived there. However, and the new investor will receive that equity if they should sell the house at any point in time. But they will save you, and they will prevent the foreclosure, and it will prevent your credit from being damaged. So
that was great. We didn't have that in here, Raj. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a creative option right there. It does happen often, and there's a place for it. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I get that a lot on some of the properties I sell. Some, again, people who are making payments and they're trying to move and it's subject to, it doesn't make sense. But if you're not making any payments and you can't find a way and you want to figure out a way to stay there, there are investors that do subject to offers. All right. What's the next? Oh, you could apply for a short sale. Again, like we said earlier, short sales when the homeowner sells a property that's less than what they owe. All right. And basically what happens is the lender kind of forgives the debt and they can write off on their taxes. Will this short sale be on your credit? I believe it stays on your credit. It's a short sale. However, it's not as prominent as a foreclosure. So this is one of the ways we prevent it from happening.
So what should I do if I receive a notice of default? Guys, I'm gonna beat this over the head. I'm gonna tell you every time. If you receive a notice of default, call the marching more team. We'd love to help. All right, that's what we are here for. Okay. I have had so many friends and family who have come to me and said, Donovan, I didn't want to bother you with my problem. And I had to say, friends and family, your problems is how I continue to put food on my table for my family. My job, my goal in life is to help you overcome your problems. Okay. So if you ever get that letter in the mail, reach out to the Marching the More team. Another person you can obviously contact is going to be the lender. So whoever you have your loan from, whoever just sent you that, call them. Okay. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I've got family members who do not check their mail. I got family members who get bills and they do not call the debtor or the lender and try and figure it out. When I was in college, when I had a 500 credit score, when I had a negative $35 bank account, I was that same person. If there was a problem, I would try and avoid it. You know, I was young, I was in college, I would go hang out with friends, I would go drink, and I'm swimming in debt, and I'm just terrified. You know what I mean? At 10 a.m., the debt collectors would call me, and at 1 p.m., the debt collectors would call me. So very rarely did I need an alarm clock because they were clocking me all the time. Call those people. Go talk to those people. Right now, I'm a mature adult. I figured it out a little bit. I just go have conversations with those people. Okay.
And having conversations, not admitting that you're wrong of what's happening. Because to be honest with you, when you call your lender and you speak to them about the forbearance department or foreclosure department, whichever, they all hear this from thousands of people every single day. You're not the only one, and everything's okay. Okay. Just remember, you still got a roof over your head, and you have time to resolve this problem. Unlike those people who are renting and miss a payment, they don't have time. But you'll be fine.
And then at the next part, guys, it says, where can I find help if I'm facing a foreclosure? As it says there, the U.S. Department of Justice maintains a list of free or low-cost legal service providers who can help you out. Okay. And that just made me think to myself, Roger, what's the cost, upfront cost that somebody pays to work with you?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
I don't charge anything.
Okay. And for Donovan, we have a no-cost strategic consultation that is complimentary. And after that, when we are figuring out what the strategy is, we always figure out how we'll be compensated for our time. But I want you to know, guys, that's usually the last thing on our mind. We are community builders, right? More giving, more community, and more prosperity. So we start out with free, low cost, no cost options for you guys, so we can identify what your problem is, how we're going to solve it, and then we go from there to solve that problem.
Yeah. And we just want to make sure our job is to make a great impact on the community I grew up in. And I want to make sure that we get these people off the street and keep you from going on the street. And then keep marching them more, y'all. Let's just let's fellowship together and grow.
Keep marching them more. Exactly. Yeah. Word of warning, beware of mortgage scams. Okay. There are people who are out there. Remember, once they send a letter of notice, this is going to be public record. People will send you all type of letters in the mail. If you own a property, you already know that people are always sending you letters to refinance this and do that. So just be sure to watch out for any of that stuff. And if you have any questions, talk to your team, talk to your legal counsel, talk to the real estate agents that you're working with, and we'll be sure to help you out. Okay. And the bottom line, work with your agent to avoid the foreclosure. Okay. We've done this before, right? To help other families out. We have a track record of success with this situation. What we find most times is people who are going through this foreclosure process, they have equity in the house. We can get you that equity by selling your property, or we can sell the house above its current market value because we're in such a competitive seller's market, and we can allow you to leave the process with money in hand.
Money in hand. That means you can go through your trials and tribulations, and when you sell the house, you'll have the equity will go in your account, and you can start all over. All right, or at least get yourself back on your feet.
Okay, so we know you guys have probably had some questions as we've been going through and talking about this. I know we've been very thorough in expressing everything, but we're going to go through some common questions right now. All right. Number one, do I have to move out of my house when it's in foreclosure? No, you don't have to move out of your house while it is going through the foreclosure, pre-foreclosure process. But there will come a time, and it could be a few days or a few weeks, where when they say they're going to send it to auction, you're going to want to vacate the property. Okay. Because if you don't, there's going to be a whole lot of legal complications that can come up with that. Rod, you want to go to the next one?
The next one is, can I keep the profits from a foreclosure sale?
Actually, Rod, right. I think we have a specialist on the phone who should probably answer this one.
I think so too. And who
Jordan,
would that be?
you with us?
I am here, guys.
All right. Can I keep the profits from a foreclosure sale? Miss Recovery Masters herself.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll go into this a little bit deeper here just to give everybody a bit of context. So once the property does go to auction, right, more times than not, that trustee that's conducting the sale, at least as far as the state of Virginia goes, since it is a non-judicial foreclosure sale state, that trustee conducting the sale is typically going to start the bidding out for said property at the amount that is still owed or the balance that is still due for the mortgage on that property, or if it's a tax foreclosure, for the taxes on that property. If the property happens to sell at auction and it sells for an amount over the balance that was due at the time of the sale, then what happens is that difference is essentially owed to the previous owner of the property. So whoever it was that owned the property when the property was being foreclosed. And generally, once that happens, once those funds are generated, again, that is the obligation. Those funds are obligated to that previous owner, but they typically only have a certain time frame to go and claim those funds. But just again, to answer the question straightforward, yes, you can keep the profits as long as there is a profit, of course.
Okay. And guys, Jordan
Well
is with
said.
Recovery Masters. So her team and her process is to help you get those funds should that happen. All right. Our whole entire goal is to make this as seamless and as stress-free as possible for you all. So the reason why we have Jordan on, and thank you for being here, Jordan, is because her process streamlines getting those funds for you guys should you be owed anything after the foreclosure sale. Anything else for him, Jay?
I think you summed it up perfectly. I will just add, again, like I said, we can kind of handle cases across the whole country. Specifically speaking to Virginia or other non-judicial states, being that it is a non-judicial state, those sales are held by trustees. So the process can really get a bit more complicated when it comes to recovering funds in places where foreclosures are handled in a non-judicial matter or state, just because each of those individual trustees can have their own individual process by which they go through the foreclosure and also handle any sort of filing claims for getting any surplus funds and actually getting that money to the person who it is owed to. So again, like you said, we are here to streamline that process and make sure we are handling it effectively and efficiently to ensure that we can get those funds for exactly what you're owed and also get it in a timely manner.
Nice. Thank you, Jay.
A quick question, Jordan. Timely manner, meaning they need to request these funds within a certain amount of time. What happens if they never request those funds that are due to them?
So it will depend on their state or sometimes even their county, right? So being that we are local to the Hampton Roads area, I will speak to the Hampton Roads area in the state of Virginia. So for Virginia, like I said, it's a non-judicial foreclosure process. A trustee will handle the sale. Generally, and I think this is per the state laws, they have, I want to say 6 months to locate the previous owner or any person who is entitled to any surplus funds generated from a foreclosure sale. If they are unable to contact, or this person or people do not reach out to the trustee to claim said funds within that 6-month time period, typically those funds will get interpleaded into the court. And one of two things can happen. They can go, or you can have additional time. And I want to say for Virginia, you may have a couple of additional years to go to the courts and actually claim the funds versus going to the trustees before within that first 6 months of the sale. You'll have to go to the courts, and then once that time passes, I believe those funds will go to the general public or state fund. So after all of the time has passed for you to claim your money, whether it be with the trustee or directly with the courts, typically those funds become they are rightfully used by either the county or the state, however they see fit. So it's no longer obligated to the previous owner or their heirs. It is the state's or the county's money. They use it as they please.
And they'll use it for like
Whatever.
city streets, police officer salaries, teacher salaries.
Yep.
These are all monies that you can acquire as if you're going as a homeowner. If you decide to end up going through it, the foreclosure process, those funds are for you. If you don't claim them within that certain amount of time, depending on your state or county, you can actually that money goes toward everything else. So you gotta answer your mail.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I've
I
seen
will
that.
say there are some states or counties that have a 60-day time frame. There are some states or counties who have a 6-month time frame. It really just depends on the area in which you are, on how long you have in order to claim those funds before they can no longer be claimed.
Okay. So it's good to know, guys. If you go through the foreclosure process, you can get the funds that are due to you if you know how to do it properly. And Jordan knows how to do that. Real quick, guys, I want to slow it down. I want you to grab that pencil, make sure you're taking notes and everything, right? If you're watching the recording of this, go ahead and rewind it, take the notes on the important stuff, figure out how to contact us. Jay, if they want to contact you, how can they contact you? What do you prefer?
So definitely by phone or email. So phone, you can get me at 757-298-1662. My email is recoverymastersinc@gmail.com.
Okay. Okay. And with that, guys, Jordan told me something that I didn't even know about. Right? I know. We know it all over at the Marching the More team. Wrong. We're learning all the time, too. And Jordan made me aware. We were at a foreclosure auction. One of the houses went up for auction. They couldn't get the number that they were looking for. And so they didn't sell the house at the auction. And Jordan was like, oh, man, that means that now the person who was due to get funds will not get those funds. Instead, that house will eventually be sold again at a future auction. But now all the funds and proceeds will go to the bank. Is that correct, Jay? Is that what we talked about that one day?
Absolutely, yes. So basically, once the first foreclosure happens, whoever the owner is at the time of that foreclosure sale, if the property goes to auction and it does not sell at that first auction, then it essentially will revert back to the lender. So whoever was lending the money for that mortgage, that's who will become the beneficiary or then the owner of the property, and they will have an opportunity to sell that property again, but it will no longer be connected to that previous owner.
Man. So, Raj, I'm hearing that. You're hearing that. What does it sound like the best way is for our homeowners to make sure that they capture that equity if they choose to if they want to get the equity out of their house? What's the best way to do that?
Well, the best to get ahead of it and and list their house, get it under contract well before auction, and that way the auction can be canceled, and then you can get the money immediately within 30 to 60 days. When you're going through recovery, if you're recovering funds, you'll have to pay attorneys. There's a lot of different legal documents you have to go through, and with you going through your foreclosure and everything, there's a lot of stress going on. You're probably still stressed out because the foreclosure ended and auctioned off and everything, but there is a way to get this done, and just contact us and keep it simple, and we'll lead you in the right direction. That's all it is. We want to get those funds for you. That's it.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate you being on call. Thank you, Raj, for sure. We're going to move on to the next common question. All right. Do I owe money if the house sells for less than I owe? Potentially.
Well, that's the definition of a short sale. Am I correct?
Yes, that's the definition of a short sale. And the lender can still file a judgment against you and request, it's called a deficiency judgment, and they will request that you end up paying whatever is deficient. For example, as you guys can see on the screen here, a home sells they owe $300,000 on the mortgage. The house sells for $275, private sale, foreclosure sale, what have you. The deficiency or the deficit or difference there would be $25,000, and a lender might try to collect that outstanding balance. So you want to, if possible, avoid that from happening. Want to take the next one, Raj?
Do I owe property taxes when my house is in foreclosure? Well, if you own a home, you owe taxes, right? However, if you don't own a home, lender pays the taxes in order to sell the home, just to get it all covered for them and everything. Because again, the bank or the lender doesn't want to hold on to this if it's a liability to them, so they want to get this thing taken care of. So we want to make sure we make those taxes or pay those taxes or contact the lender as quickly as possible.
Whew. All right, guys.
Glossary terms.
We're getting closer to the end. Breathe deep. We got to get into some glossary terms for you. We're just going to run through them. Bank-owned property. That means that the bank owns the real estate, and you have the deed to the property. They have a lien on the property, which is known as your mortgage, and they will send a notice of default and sell the property at a foreclosed auction should you default on that loan. All right. A complaint in a judicial foreclosure. This is the document that describes why the lender is foreclosing. A declaration of default in the deed of trust states this is just declaring that you default and that they are due to foreclose soon. Deed in lieu. All right. Now, if you sign over a deed in lieu, once again, guys, this is just rehashing some things. That deed in lieu, you're just going to sign over the ownerships of the property directly to the lender, and they will go ahead and do what they must with it. This will help you avoid any type of credit defaults or issues and avoid foreclosure. Deed of trust is a document that transfers ownership to the property from the borrower to the trustee until the borrower has paid the loan off in full. All right. Most people, we have just a deed of trust. That's what your deed is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Deed of trust states terms that this term just describes U.S. states, which are non-judicial states that use deeds of trust to secure a loan. Defendant, the person who in any court case is defending themselves, right? So should you be sued, which is what the foreclosure process is, you're being sued, and this is beginning of a foreclosure action. Foreclosure, this whole thing we've been talking about, guys, we're late on our payments, and now somebody has filed a claim against us, and they would like to have our home sold at auction so that way they can reclaim all the funds that they're due. A full reconveyance, if we are able to stop the if we're able to stop the process of the foreclosure, the full reconveyance is going to give the home back to the borrower after the loan is paid or after the deficiency is paid.
You can get it back, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Judgment of a foreclosure sale. That just tells you exactly what happens, in which most often house is sold, or in some cases it's not sold, and there could be other complications that follow that. Judicial foreclosure. When the borrower fails to pay the mortgage for several months, the lender seeks the foreclosure of the property by filing a civil lawsuit against the borrower. And that's why they're the judicial, because the judge and everybody is presiding over it. All right, two things we haven't discussed is going to be the lien and the junior lien. Okay, now you have a lien on your property when you take out a mortgage. You took out a loan. You now have a lien on your property. Okay, you then have subsequent junior liens for some people who taken out second mortgages because they decided I've got a substantial amount of equity. I want to tap into that for home repairs or whatever. That is going to be your junior lien. Another junior lien can be maybe you have a plumber or a roofer come over and they decide that they're going to go ahead and give you a loan to fix the plumbing or fix the roof. Well, they can then go to the courthouse and they can play a junior lien, which is secondary to the mortgage loan. And that's going to be your junior lien. All right, guys. So right here is a few testimonies telling you about how great our team is, which you already know that. You've heard that. If you guys want to check out more about our team, feel free to go to www.marchingtomore.com and check that out, okay? If you guys would like a copy of this presentation sent to you via email as a PDF or directly to your door, go ahead and send us your phone number, your name, your address, and we will get you a copy of all of this. All right. If you want to contact any of us directly, you can call me, Donovan McFadden, 757-206-2859. Text message, phone calls. I'm always here to assist you. If you want to call Roger Lee,
just give me a shout at 757-434-6433. And we'll talk about your story. We'll talk about the plan of action. And we'll talk about programs that's out here through state and local government programs. We'll talk about nonprofit organizations, any that will help you with foreclosure assistance. And then we'll contact HUD as well for counseling. Because, one thing it's not about us, it's about you.
Mhm.
So we will make sure that, first off, you can get out, you can still stay in your house and live there, right? But a lot of emotions are going on. So I want to get you as much help as possible. So that way your mentality stays level. And it's going to go off in different tangents. You're going to go down a rabbit hole. That's why we're here, to bring you back so we can execute appropriately. It's okay to feel your way you feel. It's important that you feel this way. Just as important, contact us so we can make sure we assist you in staying in the right home.
Mhm. And if you've stumbled upon this and you've already went through the foreclosure process and you're curious as to whether or not you have funds out there waiting for you in some bank account, just sitting there waiting for you, you should reach out to the Recovery Masters team. And Jordan, how can they contact you?
You guys can reach me at 757-298-1662. Text, email, or not email, excuse me, call, text, whichever works. I'm all here for it.
All right, guys.
All right.
I promise to you, number one, we promise to be honest about our opinions of your property. We promise to respect your confidence as your fiduciary. We promise to give you great advice throughout the entire process. We promise to be there. We promise to be thorough and transparent throughout the process. And we promise to, they say follow up early and often, but we'll be with you from the beginning to the end.
And from that moment forward.
Yes, sir. So thank you guys for being here with us for our Facing Foreclosure webinar. We're going to be sure to post this on our YouTube, all social media. That way you guys can have access to this information moving forward. Our job at the Marching to More team is to arm you with the knowledge that is going to help you build your financial house. Okay. That first home that you purchase is just the beginning of your portfolio. And that's why we're marching to more, guys. We want to help you get the most out of your life. And the most out of the game. All right. A big part of the game is we got to learn the rules, guys. And so that's why we're arming you with this financial literacy. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Donovan McFadden, my partner and co-host,
Roger Lee.
Look forward to follow us on all the social media platforms and keep up with us, guys, because we're going to be giving you webinars, not just about foreclosure, but about downsizing, about credit, about absolutely anything you can think of related to homes, because we love real estate. We love helping you guys, and we love what we do. Thank you.
Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, guys. You're in the live, right?